If you lined up 1,000 Americans age 60, only 1 in 1,000 people make it to 60 in good health, which means no drugs and no surgeries. So that's 0.01% of people make it to 60 in good health. So reverse the statistics on that. That means by the time people are 60 in this country, 99.9% of them, their bodies are breaking down, they're not feeling and functioning great. My biggest challenge as a doctor to get people to realize that if we live like the rest of Americans, we're gonna end up that way too, statistically. But you have to know what health is to be healthy. And I had a guy come in, he was 62 years old. He was on 27 different medications, 27. And when I sat down with him and I asked him, why do you want to be healthy? He stopped me and he said, what do you mean? I'm already healthy. Everything was controlled. Cholesterol controlled, blood pressure controlled. And he'd been going to his annual doctor's visits his entire life. He'd been put on multiple medications, and at the end of the visit each time, they'd always said, you're doing great, you've got a clean bill of health. And that's the problem, is our definition of health. Is it just artificially controlling blood pressure, artificially controlling cholesterol? Is it just artificially lowering your blood work to make it look good? Or when your organs begin to become faulty, is it just taking the organs out and put you on another medication? If that's the definition of health, we'd have the healthiest people on the planet here in the United States. The real definition of health has nothing to do with how we look or how we feel, because how many people do you know who looked good, they felt good, they go in for the test and they found cancer? The real definition of health is actually in the root word health. It's healing. How is your body healing? How is it functioning? Because if your heart is healing and functioning at 100%, you can never get heart disease. If your immune system was healing at 100%, you could never get cancer. So the question I ask is, then what controls healing inside of the body? What system is responsible for your ability to function? And there's one system in your body that controls your heart to be beating, that controls your immune system to kick in to fight cancer. There's one system that's responsible for healing the cut on your leg, and that's your brain and spinal cord. Your brain and spinal cord control everything. Information has to start in the brain, goes down the spinal cord, and it goes out through the nerves to every organ, cell, and tissue in your body. And so we know how important this system is, because if your brain stops, what happens to you? You stop. And so that's the reason why we check the spine, because the spine actually surrounds and protects the brainstem, the spinal cord, and the nerves. It's the only system that's entirely surrounded and protected by hard bone. And so it has to be straight from the front, and it has to have these 3 distinct curves from the side, one in the neck, one in the mid-back, and then one again in the low back. So when your spine is in this position, your body's functioning well, your body's healing well. But the problems happen throughout life, through slips and falls, through texting, through repetitive stresses, at work from car accidents. What will actually happen is the spine can shift out of its normal position, and it'll stretch the spinal cord if it shifts like this, or it'll irritate the nerves if it shifts like this. And the problem happens is this right here. This is called subluxation. And when you have subluxation, it not only causes pain sometimes, but it creates dysfunction, it creates disease, and ultimately leads to an early death. So for you to be healthy, it requires a healthy, functioning nervous system.